All right, we're back to part 2 of the forensic anthropology, and we've been looking at what happens with bones and how your long bones continue growing throughout your youth into your young adulthood, and they grow at the edges. That's the ends; those are epiphyses. And over time, you have new tissue being created, and then eventually this new tissue stops being created. You hit a certain age and you start growing, and it creates this kind of line in the bones. So you can have an idea of age using this, looking at for the line and whether or not there's still growth going on in bones. So let me get this stuff fixed up a little bit better for you guys. There we go. So here you got a picture where some of the parts of you see some of this fusion going on, or growth going on, I should say. And that area where you have the growth is called a growth plate. So you see at the different points where you're going to have fusion occurring, basically where the bones stop growing, and you've got ages there next to it where you go, okay, between 18 and 25, this is going to stop. You're going to get that line there, right over there near the arm between 15 and 19. If you look at the femur or the tibia, between 14 and 19. So first number is when it begins, and then when it basically fuses or stops. Okay, we're not going to worry about that. If you want to do that, go for it. Skull sutures. These are the seams along the skull where the bones fuse. Once again, we have some fusing going on. The rate of fusing is dependent on age and is fairly predictable. So if you got a skull and you want to kind of figure out age, it's not a bad way to do it, especially if it's a younger skull. So around the middle of the forehead, that area gets fused by age 2. Front to back is by 35. Surprise, surprise. Temples is by 50. Between the back here, the lumboidal is between 21 and 30. So you get a wide age range here, which gives you kind of a cool thing to look at for aging. And here's some of the pictures of it. This is a newborn skull right here. I always wonder how that big baby's head gets through, because a lot of these areas aren't fused. They're not hard, so they kind of squish in a little bit. Kind of gross thought, isn't it? All right, as you probably already know, because you're in adolescence, you get a lot more long bone length infusion, especially you guys. Us girls, we tend to be done between 14 and 15, but guys tend to keep going for a while. It's a very useful age technique. If you're between 25 and 35, there are some other ways you can determine age. Closure of the cranial sutures, which we just talked about. Looking at the rib ends. Looking at your pubis. Looking at your bone and teeth. Looking at wear on the teeth. If I got hold of my teeth, they'd be really depressed when they looked at them. And the pubic also can be used to determine whether or not it's a male or a female too, not just age. And we've done teeth already in here, so we have a good idea already how to use teeth for aging an individual. A little more information. Feel free to stop the PowerPoint if you need to. One of the other things you can do is get something of an idea of race and considering that everybody has pretty much interbred with everybody else at this point, it is not as useful as it looks. And a lot of individuals say there's some issues even looking at race within bones and stuff, but it's one of the things, if you're looking for identifiers, you've got to kind of have some things to start with the understanding that it could be wrong. So we got some Caucasoid, which tends to be like European, Mongoloid, which tends to be Eastern areas, and Negroid, which tends to be African areas. And then, as I said, is this male or female? These are the most important bones are the pelvis and skull for this. In fact, I did this in my physical anthropology class, which wasn't forensics anthropology. It was, you have cultural anthropology in school, and you have physical anthropology. And physical anthropology is about bones and stones. It looks at the history of bones and the history of man through bones, looking at how we evolved. And I had to memorize all the bones in that class and determine whether or not it was a male or a female, looking at skulls and looking at pelvises. So it's not just done in a biology class or a forensic anthropology class, it's done in a physical anthropology class too. All right, male pelvis. It's narrow and deep. The pelvic inlet is heart-shaped, and the sciatic notch here is less than 50 degrees. And there's your notch. Basically, think of it as the man is not built to have babies. There's not enough room there. Female pelvis, notice the width here, very different. It's built to give birth. Your sciatic notch is greater than 50 degrees. Plenty of room. Now go back and compare the two. Look at that versus that. Big difference. Look at adult male, adult female. Huge difference. Got a different couple of views for you. But the big thing when you look at it, I mean, look at this right here. That's a monster difference. Just get your protractor out and you've got it. When you look at skulls, females have a less pronounced brow ridge. The jaw is much more visible in males. And the knuckle crest is rounded in females and has a sharper, more pronounced angle in males. And there it is for you, 1, 2, 3. Male and female. And here's a female. All right, and if you want to do those questions, feel free. All right, that is the end of that, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed.